Welcome to VoiceOver, Movies That Move Us. I'm your host, Heather Bigley, and I talk to people about the movies that made a mark, led to what you might call cinematic epiphanies, taught something important, revealed a new way of being in relationship, created a space for self-reflection, touched people emotionally and spiritually. And it's not always the movie you'd expect. Today's movie is a recent blockbuster from 2024, Denis Villeneuve's Dune Part 2. Produced for almost $200 million, the film and theatrical release made $715 million worldwide. So, yeah, a blockbuster. If you weren't one of the millions buying a ticket back in 2024, let me explain the plot. The young hero of the film, Paul Atreides, narrowly escapes an assassination attempt that destroys his entire household, leaving him and his mother abandoned in the desert. Paul joins with the Fremen, the despised indigenous people of the planet that his own people have colonized, and under Fremen protection, he plots revenge. And today's guest is Stephen Kapp Perry, host of In Good Faith podcast, where he talks to people of all religious traditions about their experience with God. Before In Good Faith, Steve had a career in music composition and performance, as well as TV and playwriting. Steve is also a fellow sci-fi fan. So, you know how this works. If you are made nervous by spoilers, go see Dune 2 and then come back for this episode, because we're going to talk through all the plot points end to end. Remember to stick around after the convo for some recommendations. Steve, appreciate your time. Also, you were going to choose a Trip to Bountiful or Dune 2, and you have said that you want to find a way to make those go together. In your extensive preparations for this interview, did you find a way?
I know a way.
Yeah, go ahead.
I think what I've discovered is that I am so deeply affected by anything that has a large scope. Mm-hmm. This goes from TV, the biography of Miss Jane Pittman. Do you remember seeing that?
Yeah.
For her to young, and then being that old woman who had lived to go take a drink at the Whites Only Fountain. I was gobsmacked to see a lifetime there. The Trip to Bountiful is a lady who wants to just get back to where she was a girl when she grew up, and nobody's helping her. I'm leaving out so much stuff. And she gets her way. She finds her way. And then with Dune, it's the whole idea of being able to see so far. How... As Paul's mother Jessica says, the beauty and the horror.
You're so close now. Only one step remains and you will become the Kwisatz. Only one step remains. You must do what I did. You must drink the water of life. Then your mind, it's going to open and you will see.
I can't do the Bene Gesserit witch voice, but
it's terrifying.
It is. It raises my hackles, but she talks about the beauty and the horror that there is so much of to see. So to me, I guess I'm focusing on the beauty and just the deep feeling of a lifetime. And that's why those two films should be shown together.
Well, let's actually have a filmy question, which is, so you're a fan of the books. So you first read the books, I'm going to assume. David Lynch in 1984 takes a whack at it. I don't know how you feel about that one. How do you feel about that one?
If I can in any way ever avoid seeing it, I will.
Have you seen it? Is it a re-see that you're afraid of?
Yeah, no, I saw it, and I was sort of horrified, and there was so many even some of the really vicious characters, like the Baron, they become like evil clowns somehow. They're all. Yeah. It's almost like, are we playing this for laughs?
You are so beautiful, my Baron.
This is just gross.
But stings. sting is there.
Yeah, he should.
It didn't work for you.
It didn't work for me, but yeah, that one was the only thing that I thought was super cool was that the navigators were featured a little bit more in there. That they had gone through their spice evolution, and they are very minor, almost non-existent in the tale we see in the movies, which I can understand because you have to cut.
Yeah. Well, a lot of people will say to you, or the discussion, the truism has long been, the book is always better than the movie. I have to say, as the more movies I watch, the more books I read, that's not always true. Ready Player One is one of those that I'm like, thank goodness someone came along and made a script. But what do you think about Dune? When you compare... We're going to talk about a couple of things. One, when you compare the books to the film, what do you think that the film loses in adaptation? What do you think it gains in adaptation?
I think what it gains is just your attachment to the characters that it focuses on. Because there are so many different civilizations that don't even come up in the book. And all the fights between all the big houses, this comes back to more like... I can pick 3 or 4 people and I can think of them as all living in the same neighborhood and having their conflicts. And so I attach really deeply and I follow all of their stories really well. In the book, there is some magic in a book that you can just sort of, wait a minute, who are those guys? And you flip back a little bit. Oh yeah, okay, they're these guys. And this is that distinctive thing they do.
Yeah.
But having read the book, there are hints of those things all the way through. Anything like, Dr. Yu, who's got the special little tattoo. I mean, that's an identifying thing in the book for certain people. And just that they took the care those things do show up, I thought was really great.
Well, do you think your emotion or your experience with the film is largely founded on your experience with the books, or do you think that Denis Villeneuve does the work to create a new, more profound emotional experience for you?
Yeah, that's a question. In some ways, I kind of liked how he left. I felt like he left the emotion making to me in a lot of cases. The characters aren't overwrought or super dramatic in most cases, but they show me that they are feeling something inside. I get the little hints, and then I read into that, probably extrapolate, and so for me, if I had just come to it from nothing, I still would have enjoyed the movies, I believe.
Yeah. And now the last question that has to do with adaptation is, so in today's day and age, one could have made a mini series, a limited series. One could have done 12 episodes on Dune itself, or even 15. Villeneuve and his people decided to split it in two and have 2 very long movies. What choice? I mean, I think there's real benefits in complex books like this in taking them into a streamer and saying we're going to do a limited series. But what do you think? Can you envision what that would have looked like, and do you think there would have been benefits there?
Yeah, I think, didn't somebody do sort of a mini series of Dune at some point?
I know right now, I think it's
there's
HBO Max.
Yeah, the Dune Prophecy, sort of a prequel-ish thing.
Yeah, 1,000 years before. I don't even know if we can call it a prequel. It's like saying Job is a prequel to Revelation. I mean.
So I like what he did. I am so there for the long movie because it's well made, and when it's over, I'm thinking, oh, dang, it's over. I did not ever think that this is getting long or boring to me. I like that I got to just sort of live through it.
Right. For me, I thought that the movie Dune 2 specifically felt like a fever dream. I read the books maybe 10, 15 years ago, and it felt like to me like, here's that, here's that. And I thought it flowed really well, but I thought if you don't know the story, you just have to give yourself up to this experience.
Yeah. And Paul, even in his beginning dreams, where he's starting to have these dreams that's of his future.
A good hunter always climbs the highest dune before his hunt. He needs to see. As far as he can see. You need to see.
You must drink the water of life. Your mind is going to open. And you will see.
I did have to give it up. Like, I've got to stop figuring out who these voices are, because it's a female voice. Oh, no, it's a male voice. And later it turns out to be the guy he killed, but now he's still talking with it.
Right.
You just have to, you have to let go of logic a little bit.
Yeah. That said, beautifully shot. Like so many of those desert sequences are just art on the screen. Just the use of line and the use of shadow. And I really enjoyed it for that reason. Like, visually speaking, I felt like I'm willing to let go because it works on so many levels for me as a piece of art. And I don't know, is it weird to talk about art from Dune, or what do you think?
Yeah, I
mean, when you think about David Lynch and then you think about this, you might not draw a straight line. I mean, for some people, David Lynch is truly an artist. But
I can't comment.
May you rest in peace. Go ahead.
I can't comment on him, his body of work, but just this one adaptation that he did. But even something as beautiful as just, if you can make just sand blowing in the wind feel like a mystical experience with the sparkles and the flares of, I guess, spice is very reflective, or it became so in this production, that even that is dreamy and beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah. Paul is kneeling in front of a giant tank. Well, maybe that was the first movie. The spice harvester, and he falls on his knees, and even that was this sort of this mystical thing.
Yeah. I want to get into eventually. There's so much that this movie does with religion and with ritual, but let's talk a little bit more about what the themes are that drew you to this story, to this film, and why you think those are important themes for you.
I think, like a lot of movies, we've got our hero, our character has what seems like an insurmountable challenge. They have to grow up in unexpected ways, and they discover themselves in a way that when I first read the books, I was in the middle of discovering, like, what am I going to do for a living? Do I like going to school? Do I just all the things you're learning about how to get along with people, who you should have in your life, who you don't have in your life. And so I really related to Paul when I first read it. When I see the movie now, or if I were to reread the books, I would be looking from a viewpoint of choices, and that every choice you make closes some doors, opens others, and so it's a constant changing amount of future paths and possibilities that we're always narrowing. We think we're narrowing it down, but maybe we're also just opening up new ones as well. And so for me, the theme of personal development from the viewpoint of a young person, but now to look back, having lived through the consequences, mostly good, of choices that I made, and then how does that point to the future?
Yeah. I feel like when I, at this, maybe not at this age, but when I turned 40, I remember feeling like I had to let go of a lot of things that I had hoped for. It was a very difficult birthday. Birthdays have never been hard, but that was a hard one. And I had this realization that, when I was in my 20s making decisions, it felt like there was only one path. Like, this is what I'm going to do. This is where I'm headed. I don't know how I'm going to get there, really, but that's where I'm headed. And when I was 40, looking back, I thought, oh no, there were so many choices I could have made in so many ways. There were so many paths in front of me, and they all actually might have been great paths. But I had this single-minded focus on the one, and then bitterly thought, and it didn't work, like I failed somehow. Now at 50, it's more like, well, what are you going to do?
I probably had a moment pretty close to that where I was in one career, and then because of the changes of technology, basically everyone could share your music for free, so I no longer could make a living as a writer, songwriter, musician. And even though that was really the thing that did it, I had that same like, oh, I did this for over a decade, but now I seem to be failing. And in doing something new, even though it turned out to be something I enjoy very much, that was one of the most difficult emotional times for me, was saying goodbye to who I thought I was and was going to do for the rest of my life.
Yeah, even that.
I relate.
That question that you get, what do you do? And then you have to say the new thing, and you're like, why don't you just...
Knife through the heart.
Right, take me out back behind the barn and shoot me. Sorry, suicide jokes here on voiceover. This feeling of like, I don't want to tell you that because I'm going to watch your face. And the cool thing I could have said even just a year ago, I don't get to say anymore, and watch your face. Now I say the thing that's like, oh, really? And watch your vague confusion and disappointment. Hard stuff. Okay, well, so let's talk about Paul Atreides. He's so interesting to me. One, he has fantastic hair. I think we should just
have to see if it says so in the book, but
exactly. Played by the young Timothée Chalamet. Not that young, actually. I think he was, in his late 20s by the time he was making this film. And what's interesting to me about Paul is that he goes from this highly gendered society, right? Where his mother is not the wife of his father. She's from this,
It's really medieval.
Yes.
Like
very medieval.
Literally Duke.
Yes. And his associations are all these men who are training him and mentoring him so that he can take on his father's position when his father dies. And then his whole world gets turned upside down, and he gets thrown into this new society where he has to sort of learn how to fit in. And they're much more gender egalitarian and much more sort of just played by completely different rules. And he's got to figure all of that out. And of course, it helps that Zendaya is going to be his guide.
I'll be your friend.
Here, we're equal, men and women alike. What we do for the benefit of all.
Well, I'd very much like to be equal to you.
Paul, Muad'Dib, Usul. Maybe you could be Fremen. Maybe I'll show you the way.
If we all had a Zendaya in our lives to make things a little easier. But that to me is something that really stood out, is like he has to completely learn a whole new culture, a whole new way of living. So it's not just like, oh, should I go down this path or that path? But like, I have to learn a new language. I have to learn, what is respectful, what is not respectful. How do I present myself in this culture? And that to me, those are enlivening moments, I think, for any of us who have to go through that. I mean, you yourself spent time in another country, learning another language, figuring out who to be there. but also really draining and really exhausting, and you never know if you quite fit. And do they believe you? Are you going to be trusted? Those sorts of things. What did you think about those moments in the film?
Well, they're really honest about the whole kill them, they're strangers.
Right.
It's not like, oh, Tommy doesn't really fit in that well with our group. It's sort of like, put them out in the desert, they should die.
di mananiri, blixithad.
Qabdi kaka arashme.
Haskishiatsa.
Yushla.
Stilgar, Jehovah Shahi, Minzida Shafi.
So chukha lasan al-gaib lak.
Vizda hachapsa, osallaveji, Jarakaha, Sakurum, Kajakahab Nitihefa. Dirashi, Divaraho, Etemi.
Roresham, Dimadaik, Vandraha.
Yeah.
Because they're so suspicious of outsiders and what he has to do to kind of win the trust. And it really is, everything is life and death.
Right. The other thing that I thought of too is, and you kind of mentioned it, he has all this incredible pressure. Part of the problem or the sort of conundrum of choosing the next path is his mother has this expectation for him, several expectations for him. Stilgar, who is his sort of mentor that he makes with the group, has an expectation for him. Chani, who's played by Zendaya, is going to have an expectation for him. Yeah. And he himself feels this expectation to avenge his father's death. So there's never a moment where you get to say, so Paul, what do you think? Do you want to study law or do you want to be a doctor? Right? It's like, here are all the people around him saying to him, you have to do this thing, and they're at odds with each other, and he has to make a choice. And I don't know if you've ever experienced that.
You pointed out something really interesting a minute ago about he's in this his first society, very male-centric. The guys are in charge. You're being trained to fight, to kill, to rule, to make decisions. But it's his mother who is secretly training him, and she's from like hey, we're the gals actually in charge of the whole universe group, and we have the skills to do it. We just don't share that with you very often. And so I wonder if he's in this interesting between position where some of the training that ends up being most useful to him is what she's given him, and kind of over his objections, even from the very beginning. She's always saying, how many times do I tell you this? Or never leave your back to the open.
Never stand with your back towards the open. How many times do I have to tell you that? Huh?
So lots of family dynamics in there as well. All of these expectations. So Stilgar really, really wants to believe that Paul is the Mahdi, so this Messiah, to come from the outside world. And you see it sort of cross his mind through his eyes. By the way, what a great actor he is.
Oh, I love Javier Bardem. He's fantastic.
Oh, my gosh. I mean, if there's anyone that I never even thought, another actor has come on the screen playing a part, it was him. Later I realized, he is an actor playing this part. They didn't get the real Stilgar, but that came as a shock to me somehow.
Right.
Yeah, and you can see when he brings Paul and Lady Jessica into Sietch Tabor for the first time, and everyone's saying, a witch, imposter, kill them all. But this one guy says, they don't know what they're saying. Lisan al-Gaib. This is our one from the outside. see this shift in his eyes, like, wow, there's someone who is open to the possibility.
Well, that scene is actually really nicely done because it's going to parallel that final scene, which looks very similar. They go into this big, I'm going to call it a wadi. They go into this place where everyone is gathered, and then Paul has to sort of convince them. So visually, they parallel each other, extremely well. And they're outsiders, and we have to have Stilgar stand up for them and argue for them to be accepted. But at the end, Paul has now grown enough, and he's kind of realized how to I don't want to say manipulate, but maybe how to inspire these people that he's going to speak on his own behalf and and sort of lay out what it is that he wants to accomplish, including I'm not just doing this for you so you can have a Messiah, which the whole movie he said he doesn't really truly believe. I'm doing this because I am my father's son, and I'm going to avenge my father, which I thought was an interesting moment.
This is my father's ducal signet. I am Paul Muad'Dib Atreides, Duke of Arrakis. Erudit Dina Heshidani, Nelisan al-Gaim, Ru'i Di Menaruk, Ashidi, Lisak al-Gaim.
And when he does decide, I will do what must be done, which is sort of throwing away any vestiges of his old life.
Right.
And then he starts speaking, and very forcefully, and saying things that are quite shocking, and he's not following the rules of the council. And you see everybody in his life reacting badly to him. Yeah. Johnny's like, oh, you idiot. You're just you. Don't pretend you're this person. She doesn't believe a bit of it.
Right.
You see Stilgar just with this light glowing in his eyes, like, I think I found my Messiah. You see his trainer, Duncan. No, not Duncan.
Yeah, isn't it?
No,
Duncan.
Duncan's dead at the moment. Oh, is it Duncan?
It's Josh Brolin. I know that much.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. So that's it. So you see Duncan, Idaho, going slow down. You're pushing too fast, and
right.
And you see his mother too doing that, like, oh, not so much,
Right.
And so they're all seeing him as this person they have trained and actually have some control over. Every one of them has now lost control of him.
Yeah.
You see that in their eyes, and he absolutely is taking charge.
Right. When you told me, like, oh, I want to talk about the different paths that we could choose, and I was rewatching it, I was waiting for an articulation of that from the film. And so, I was surprised it came like 2 hours into the film where Paul finally says, he's taken this drug. He's basically done acid, and he's seen the universe, and he comes back and he says, I can see a path, but it's treacherous. It's basically, we might say, like, it's a hard, it's a small needle to thread.
Yeah.
I'm going to figure out how to do this.
You can see.
The visions are clear now. I see possible futures all at once. Our enemies are all around us. And in so many futures they prevail. But I do see a way. There is a narrow way through.
But throughout the film, we know that he's actually been threading that needle. Like, my mother needs this from me. I'm going to give her that. Stilgar wants that from me, and I feel weird about, saying that I'm the Messiah. So I'm not going to say that I'm the Messiah. I'm going to say I'm a desert mouse, right?
Like who would harm no one?
Exactly. And then, of course, he's in love with Chani, so, he's much more open to sort of speaking with her and being sort of honest with her about what he thinks.
And even at one point, he's afraid of losing her, like
right.
literally her dying, or that she'll just back off all the way, and
right.
he will lose her if he chooses one of the paths that he sees. Also, that's kind of the moment where he's been toying with his father's ducal signet ring for the whole time.
Yeah.
And he finally puts it on, like his father had said earlier, something. He eventually found his way into the position, and maybe you will too.
Father, I found my way.
Right.
And so when he puts that on, and he's both the fulfillment of this prophecy from the Bene Gesserit, but he's also like, okay, I am the successor to my dad. All of these roles he takes on.
Yeah.
It's interesting to me. I was tempted, but this is mostly about my reaction, so I didn't look it up yet. I thought, what did Frank Herbert think about religion?
Yeah.
And it can be pretty cynical, it seems. And then even Paul, he's had these great visions of the universe, which I would almost call like a spiritual epiphany, except what he's saying is, I can see a way through, a narrow way through, but that's how we survive, and I get revenge to destroy their opponents. It's not like he sees a way for the good of all the universe and chooses that self-sacrificingly. Right. So in a way, I've heard some people say that Denis Villeneuve got it right, because Paul does not necessarily become a hero. He may even be sort of a bad guy.
Right.
A tyrant.
Yeah, I mean, we're used to, in our Hollywood films, having a happy ending for the hero that includes getting the girl, and this is a movie where he literally lets go of the girl so that he can, his mother's going to say to him, you can't become involved with Chani because you have to make the most advantageous marriage possible. And I think if you haven't read the books, you might think to yourself, and of course he will, right? That's how Hollywood works, right? I'm going to follow my heart, Mom. And he instead is like, oh, yep, I see the most advantageous marriage, and I'm going to take it.
This isn't over yet.
I want you to know, I will love you as long as I breathe.
There is a massed armada in orbit. You're facing a full invasion, Fremen.
How can you be so sure the great houses are here for me? They may be curious to hear my side of the story, don't you think? I am Paul Atreides, son of Leto Atreides, Duke of Arrakis. Gurney.
My lord.
Send a warning to all ships. If the great houses attack, our atomics will obliterate all spice fields.
You're out of your mind.
He's bluffing.
Consider what you're about to do, Paul Atreides.
Silence!
Abomination.
Message sent, my lord.
As a servant of the Imperium, you will bow at my feet.
Your feet! You'll be lucky to keep your head. I'll take the hand of your daughter. She will remain safe, and we will rule together over the Empire.
And I think for me, that's actually was the most emotional moment in the entire film, because I was on Chani's side going, oh my gosh, I can't believe that she's got to, in a public space, watch, this man that she loves turn away from her and choose something completely cynical even, like I'll be the emperor, and I'll be the emperor because I married the emperor's daughter. For me, that was... I don't know that I cried, but I just had like this big reaction in my chest. Like
same thing. Yeah, this big clenching lump. Yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah.
Can we talk about the music?
Yes, you're going to know more about it than I do.
It's music that doesn't feel like music. Throughout the film score, especially like the Harkonnens, it's just these big blasting industrial sounds.
Yes.
And then there's these hints of kind of Arabic desert music. So Frank Herbert does a great job setting us up, I think, for religious expectation, because we're hearing things that sort of seem Arabic or maybe related to Islam in some way.
North African, that kind of thing.
And so I thought the fact that Hans Zimmer did it, who also did The Lion King.
Yeah.
Well,
so Interstellar, and he's done a lot of those scores where like it's more of a tone and like a texture, right, than it is an actual piece of harmony.
Yeah, so I love that I never thought, oh, and now the violins are swelling. It's the love theme. There is a love theme, but it's kind of a desert flute that plays alone as we hear sand and spice rushing by us. And so I just thought it was genius the way he kind of did not do a traditional movie score, but like you said, textures and mood. There's always definitely a feeling there.
Yeah. I think it's interesting because, as you said, like, depending on who he's with is always going to be, what the sound is or what kind of tone we're going to get from this music. I want to go to the religion stuff because I think it's really important. There's the line from Princess Aurelian, played by Florence Pugh, where she says to her father, "You're not going to win this because you don't understand how important religion is."
So, my dear daughter, how would you deal with this prophet?
If this Muad'Dib is a religious figure, you can't use direct force. Repression only makes a religion flourish. You'll only end up humiliating yourself.
You underestimate my Sardaukar.
You underestimate the power of faith.
But she's not necessarily saying religion is good. Religion leads to, an ethical society where people make good choices and look out for each other. She's just saying religion is going to impact how these people act and what choices they make, and you don't seem to get it. And the movie seems to actually conflate fundamentalism with religion, or the only expression of religion is fundamentalism that we see. And that's embodied by those fundamentalists in the South. We don't know exactly what they're going to do, but,
they're all waiting for their Messiah.
Right. At the same time, then you have the Bene Gesserit, who represent another kind of religious expression, right? This, sort of secret society where, they're there to maintain order.
And should the great houses learn that your father was behind the liquidation of the Atreides, your father will face war and lose the throne.
Then what hope is there?
Hope? We are Bene Gesserit. We don't hope, we plan.
And Chani, of course, is going to be the person who keeps crying out, this is how we are enslaved, is through religion and through these prophecies of Messiah.
This prophecy is how they enslave us, how they dominate.
You'll get yourself in trouble.
So, as a religious person, I kind of wonder what you were thinking about this portrayal of religion.
Yeah, well, I have to say that enough bad has been done in the name of religion over the years, usually by people seeking political gain.
You weren't
power.
Surprised? Is that what you're saying?
I thought, well, this is telling a true tale.
Right.
But I just had to separate it from, I don't feel personally threatened or like, oh, they shouldn't say bad things about people trying to be good, because I wasn't sure who was trying to be good, really, in this movie.
Yeah, well, that goes back to your comment about Paul. Like, he's going to make a choice, but it's not necessarily going to be a choice that is going to make him a good person.
Yeah, or like in the next life, I will be happy that I have done the following things because of the consequences that come to me. It's not even anything like that.
Right. He keeps saying, I can't make this choice because billions will die.
Mm-hmm.
And then somehow he convinces himself, well...
Yeah, whose billions? My billions? Their
Exactly.
But interesting that he sees in the future how many will die, but that it will be less than might otherwise die.
Right.
And I don't know. I pick that out as a thread of good, a thread of humanity, that he seems to see that. Like, there is no way out of this where horrible things don't happen, but maybe fewer horrible things will happen. And that ties in with what his mother said. You have to drink the water of life, Paul, so your mind will be open and you can see the beauty and the horror.
Right. Yeah. And of course, Lady Jessica is like a site of all kinds of religious practice, right? She herself is Bene Gesserit, but then she's going to go into this society and sort of adapt their customs so that she can speak to them more clearly, I guess, or rule them more clearly. But at the same time, like, a lot of her... Like, she wants people to think of Paul as the Messiah because she thinks that's the best way to protect Paul himself, right?
Yeah.
She doesn't seem necessarily interested in the survival of the society or, all of these other things that might be important if you were in charge.
And I don't know if this is religious or not, but I latched onto it, which is Paul is now talking with his unborn sister, who's still this tiny little embryo, I think.
Right.
And he says, our father is dead. You should go back to the stars, little one.
Sister, father is dead. Shouldn't you go back to the stars? Be with him? I'm afraid I won't have enough time to fix things before you're coming. This world is beyond cruelty.
Yeah.
And I thought, what is he saying? Is that just a metaphor, wherever you came from? Or does he actually have some sort of, in my own tradition, there is a pre-existence. And maybe that's why that hit me.
Right.
It's like, it's not really, that's one of those doors that if you open, you can't go back. You have to, until you go through another one, which is to die.
Right.
And so I just spent a little time thinking about that. That had, at least for me, some personal, because of my own faith tradition, some personal religious relevance.
Yeah. Yeah. And they have this bond where she too has expectations for him. like he can't escape. Like, there's, which in some ways, I'm reacting to the film as a Westerner, right? I'm reacting to the film as someone who has been told all of her life, follow your dreams, choose the path that's best for you. So when I see that there's all this expectation around him, I feel worried for him. Like, you can't make all of these people happy. You can't make a choice that's going to and also maintain your own happiness. But in some ways, like, Frank Herbert wants to, in the original books, he wants to point out, like, here is this culture, this North African, Middle Eastern culture, who've long been disparaged, who are colonized. He's kind of taking not American, though Americans were involved, but he's taking sort of global politics of the time, and he's using it as an underlay for the plot. Spice is a stand-in for oil and that sort of thing. And then kind of sort of saying, so here's this society, and here are these other societies, the ruling societies, which one's going to win? And asking us to actually be on the side, at least for book 1, of the Fremen, right?
Yeah.
Which might just be a way to say free man, or, there's ways to interpret that.
Yeah, and so since we're bringing up colonialism...
Sure. I have a degree in that.
So you're really good at it.
Well, I can just point at it and go, look, there it is. That's what
When I was a kid, I thought colonialism, that's when you go to Jamestown and study George Washington, the colonies.
Yes, it is, actually. As one small spark of it right there.
Aye. Yeah, and Dune starts with, we hear... I mean, even the Harkonnens have their own bloody religious, off to battle, let's bleed out, it looks like hundreds of live people, and then paint ourselves. I mean, it was just kind of weird, but it all had this priestly vibe and ceremonial vibe. But the whole movie starts off with that sort of and then subtitles, so we understand it, that spice is power. Who controls spice controls all. And so it just illustrates that I mean, that's why we go after things as societies, is to get the control of the things we need, because otherwise we won't have them and others will, and that just seems all wrong to us.
Right.
And that maybe then they'll be in charge, and we can't have that.
Yeah. We won't get to live the way that we want to live if someone else is more powerful than us. So we have to dominate them in some way, right? I mean, there's just all this fear about tribes and borders and, family, and as you said at the beginning, it's a cynical look at all of those things, sort of, or maybe not cynical, but.
So do you think this part is religious? The whole stuff that happens to the minds with spice. I mean, I'm thinking of entheogens and, plant medicine as it's referred to today, people having experiences where they feel like the boundaries between them and the earth they live on dissolve temporarily, and they felt this oneness. I'm kind of into oneness. I haven't taken that step, and then there's the navigators who it changes their whole bodies. They then can't live without spice. They're all what we might call deformed, or I picture them like salamanders sort of floating in some liquid, but they can fold space and time with their brains. And so is that religious, or how did it strike you?
Well, I mean, it feels very much like there's this culture who has become really close. Like, the wonderful thing about the Fremens is that they thrive. They've managed to thrive in this desert, right? And Stilgar, one of the reasons he wants a Messiah is he wants to return to the Green Paradise, or he wants the Green Paradise to come back. He keeps saying that, right? And so we understand there was a time before, potentially, when this planet was green and there was water, but these people have never experienced that. And I have to say, from my reading of the books, the thing that most impressed me were those suits that they wore, that
the still suits.
Yeah, that completely make use of all parts of, any kind of liquid or moisture that comes out of them. It's going to filter it and going to allow them to keep drinking. And
a still suit is a high efficiency filtration system. Even this early in the morning, you wouldn't survive 2 hours without one of these. It cools the body and recycles the water lost to sweat. Your body's movements provide the power. Inside the mask, you'll find a tube to allow you to drink the recycled water. In good working order, your suit won't lose more than a thimbleful of water a day.
Most impressive.
So to me, that always was like, oh, this is in stark contrast to, as a Westerner, the way we think of the world, which is, well, we have to dominate it to make it better. And by better, we mean I should have access to everything that I want. And if I want to waste it, that's my prerogative. And I don't have to think about, the fact that, there are all these other people who need water as well. Like, that's how Western cultures sort of think of it. Obviously, those societies have their own traditions that think of... This is a long answer, Steve.
No, I'm liking it. I'm taking notes.
Oh, okay, good. But, we can think of indigenous societies or Great Nations people or other places on the earth where instead of dominating the planet or dominating their resources, they think of this as, I'm part of the resources and I'm part of the earth, and I will make do and make use of what is available to me, but I'm also not going to waste anything.
Yeah, and even have some responsibility for it.
Right. Like, they have those big, I'm trying to remember the name, what one calls those. I saw them in India when I was there. But, the huge stone...
the stupa? No.
Well, it's where they're keeping all this liquid. And when someone dies...
Oh, yeah, like a reservoir sort of.
Yeah, it's this huge reservoir that they're stockpiling liquid into. And when someone dies, they put their bodily liquids into that place, and then it's going to somehow filter. And, and I just think of that. This was a holy place for them because this is where there's water, but there's the water of the people, and they're calling that drug water of life, the one, so just this reverence they had for moisture.
38 million decaliters. None of us, even dying of thirst, would ever drink this water. This is sacred. Genesis water. We have 1,000 such places. When we have enough water, the Lisan al-Gaib will change the face of Arrakis. He will bring back the trees, he will bring back a green paradise.
So many souls.
Uts. I'll never give your water away, not even for the dead.
Anytime someone cries, don't waste your water on emotions, right? Like, this is, be more respectful of where we live by not crying or by not vomiting, right? Like, Lady Jessica has morning.
Don't let it out.
Yeah.
Yeah, and when she's there looking at that giant mega liter container, I mean, she's the one who starts to cry. She said, so many souls. Like, that's an emotional, I don't know if it's religious, but definitely a something like that, an emotional moment for her.
Right. Yeah.
And as far as religion, can we talk about the god of Arrakis or Dune, Shai Hulud? I mean, that's God, is the giant sandworm.
Yes, the sandworms. Had they never had the idea before this to ride the sandworms to attack? Had they never had that idea before?
Yeah, interesting.
When they did it, I was like...
Well, they couldn't get past the rocks, so they had to use the family atomics to blow up the rocks to open, at least to that one city.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, we don't see them riding the sandworms to get the spice harvesters, although they do call them.
Right.
Well, they don't need to call them because it makes so much racket, that vibration, that they come anyway. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So
You're asking why they don't just get the eagles to fly Frodo right to Mount Doom.
Yes.
Because we wouldn't have 3 books.
Good point. Good point. The exigencies of the market is what you're telling me is the answer to that question. Well, what I love about those sandworms is how unattractive they are. Like this is something that only in that culture can be revered, right? Any other person or group coming into the planet is just like horrified and they want to get rid of them. But, these people, having had to have that relationship, are like, well, this is how you handle this and this is how you live with this. So,
and somehow, I think I've read about indigenous people in South America licking certain toads to have visions.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, okay, these sandworms, they are connected somehow with spice. Like, is this their like digestive byproduct? I have no idea.
I feel like there's a line about that in the film, but there's also the idea that they get the water of life from the sandworms themselves. So. So again, it's like this is a relationship. It's not a sense of who's going to dominate who or who's going to exterminate who. I had this thought the other day as I was gardening and I was covered in ants. I thought, oh, my society develops, pesticides for this very reason. But other societies are like trying to, they would tell you when or how to handle the ants so that you don't get bit, or the goodness, what the ants accomplish for your garden or whatever it is. Yeah. I just feel like another culture would have said, how do we get rid of those things as quickly as possible?
Okay. I realize this is your podcast, but I have questions for you.
Yeah, keep talking.
And I'm asking myself this same question. That's why.
Okay, sure.
Which is, what did Frank Herbert want people to feel when they finished the book? What did Denis Villeneuve want people to feel when they finished the film? And then finally, Heather, what did you feel?
Well, I can't speak to Frank Herbert. As I said, I read the books a really long time ago. I think Denis Villeneuve, he has done Arrival, he's done Sicario, he's done Blade Runner, he's done Prisoners. I think he's very much interested in what does a moral life look like, and when we're in these really impossible situations, how do we make the best choice? And I think he wants us to be thinking about that. And and Dune is a good vehicle for that. As you said, Paul could have made the choice of, I'm just going to build a small life, quote unquote, small life here with Chani and be grateful that I survived. and I'm going to become part of their society, and I'm going to help defend the people who've welcomed me into their village. He could have made that choice, but instead he makes the choice of, no, I'm going to rule the entire universe. That's the choice he made.
Yeah, he seems pushed into making that choice.
But he also embraces it. I mean, one of the notes you'd made earlier was, once he makes the decision, he's, as we say, all in. Like, I'm part of your band of rebels who's going to blow up spice. Let's do it. Like, I'm ready to go. And then he's like, oh, we're going to go south. I'm going to preach to the fundamentalists. Let's do it. Oh, we're going to, once he's made
Let's get the emperor here and take over the universe.
Exactly. Oh, you need me to marry the daughter? Sure. I'm going to marry the daughter. I mean, Florence Pugh is she's easy on the eyes.
She is a lovely person.
So there's no complaint.
With, by the way, a voice that from every time I hear it, I think, oh, say more. She's got a great voice.
So, I think that's what Denis Villeneuve, based on his other films, is interested in. How do you make the choices that you make? And, even if you can make those choices, should you be making those choices? Right? I think he's asking that question. But what do you think Frank Herbert wanted? You're the one who's...
Well, I thought he had things to say about colonialism.
Yeah.
He had things to say about politics. And maybe he just wanted to just express and work out his own ideas about all of those things in kind of a playground that wasn't just, I'm talking to my friends about we should take better care of the environment, or should we be so dependent on these oil-producing countries? I mean, those sound like pretty esoteric, academic, but kind of boring questions. He found a really interesting way to work them out in his mind.
I mean, one of the critiques of the film, and the first one too, is that here we're seeing, I wouldn't say a mockery, but we're seeing an approximation of Middle Eastern, North African cultures, and yet there are very few North Africans who actually are in the film, right? Stilgar is played by a Spanish man. Or I'm trying to think of where Javier Bardem is from. But, he's, none of those characters are played by North Africans or Middle Eastern characters, and so there's just not.
And of all people, Paul says, well, they say it's those fundamentalists down south, and he said, well, what about Stilgar? And it's Chani, quote, / Zendaya, who says he's from the south. Haven't you noticed his accent? And I'm thinking, yeah, honey, and you're from Brooklyn. Are you even trying? So she was not my favorite.
You would have chosen someone else?
She was the only actress or actor in the movie that I thought, why them?
Oh.
Clearly because they are the it person of the moment, is what I thought. Because I thought, I'm not getting acting, but she's got that scowl, and every time we see her, she gives that scowl. And so I could be totally wrong, but she talked to me like the girl who lives next door to me, who's very sweet and is 15 and has a way of speaking. And it was that way.
You're reminding me of how I feel about Brad Pitt, who
really?
I find very attractive. Obviously he's very appealing, but I feel like he has what I call the Brad Pitt school of acting. And so... or no, it's the Bad Pitt school. That's how I say it. It's the Bad Pitt school of acting. And you cut to Brad Pitt and he makes a face, and then you cut away from Brad Pitt, and there's not a lot more going on than that. Again, very appealing. Like, if he's in a movie, sign me up. I'm going to go see it. But I don't have a lot of expectations for plumbing the depths.
So Rebecca Ferguson.
Oh, I love her.
So I somehow was completely unaware of her, but I don't see a lot of movies. I see like 2 movies a year.
But this is the thing, Steve.
But I was just blown away by her.
Yeah, she's great. She's fantastic. What else has she been in? She's been in a lot of huge...
The Greatest Showman was the thing that I thought, isn't that
Zendaya
can't be the
too?
same.
Zendaya as well,
I haven't seen The Greatest Showman, only clips. So.
Okay.
Anyway.
She's in the Mission Impossible franchise. She was in the follow-up to... what is that? Jack Nicholson horror film from the 70s.
The Shining?
Yes, the follow-up to The Shining that came out. Yeah, she has a great agent, let's say that. They land her in lots of stuff.
Wow. Well, and our two boss Harkonnens, who we love to hate. I mean, you have to be so good to get us to hate you so bad.
I was really fascinated. What is his name? Austin.
Yes. Who played Elvis and then
shaved his eyebrows for
Ralpha.
this. Yes. Yeah. I actually, that's the least favorite part of the film for me is like when given the ability to fast forward. I'm like, meh. I don't like these guys at all. But okay, but this is the thing, Steve. Last year, when Dune 2 came out, you went to the movies how many times to see it?
I saw it twice in the theater, and then while babysitting my granddaughter after she was in bed, I watched it 2 other times.
There you go. Okay, why?
Because I had connected so much with it as a teenager, and then had read them again in my late 20s, early 30s. And then just that I felt that the movie adaptation was so successful in telling a coherent story. And I was okay with things just falling away left and right that could have been included or that were cool in the books, but weren't the story.
Yeah.
I was just so impressed with something that just felt so huge and visionary.
Yeah.
I just had to. But the story itself is the story of figuring out who you are and the story of choices, and that's what I loved. I was not left with a clear lesson. You know how they say, I've heard people say to artists, don't complete the circle. Like you go up in front of someone on a board and you draw about 3/4, and everyone who's watching you knows where it's going.
Right.
It's the idea of leave something for the viewer to do. And I felt like Denis Villeneuve left stuff for me to do. Sometimes in the acting that could have been much more blatant or obvious, sometimes in the storytelling. I just felt like my mind was given lots to do to fill in the gaps or finish drawing the circle however I wanted to sometimes. It's not like he knew where he was pointing me, maybe even, but he gave me possible places to go. Yeah. And that felt, in a movie like Dune of all things, visionary.
Right. I think it's a beautiful film. Like everything is working in that film, and it gives you the ability to think about yourself, which I'm going to say is a good thing. Like if you can sort of connect to it on that emotional level and start reflecting about who you are, and not necessarily, would I marry Princess Aurelian? Like, I don't think that's what you're supposed to be thinking, but I think you're supposed to be thinking, oh, if all these people had these expectations, how would I handle that? Right?
Yeah.
How would I make sure that I was accepted by this community? And I think that's fascinating for a movie as big as it is, as loud as it is, as many explosions that it has, that there are these moments of quiet reflection where you can insert yourself into the film and say, well, what about me? And what will I know at the end of this?
I love that. And I think that's just a huge part of what makes something feel like art, not just entertainment.
Yeah. Agreed.
Yeah, I love how you phrase that.
Is there all right, what else do you want to talk about?
It does give lots of room to think about religion, because there are people who are seeking after what they are seeking for different reasons. And for me, it says it's not so much that it's good or bad, or it's just like, what is my motivation to do? I could put this down to, am I doing this to be seen as a good person? Or have I become someone whose first impulse is to help or to reach out or whatever it might be, just because that is my nature and what I want to do.
Denis Villeneuve has spoken in several interviews about the movies that influenced his work on Dune Part 2, like Lawrence of Arabia, Scorsese's The Last Temptation of Christ, the Japanese anime film Akira, and Bergman's Persona. But here are several films that I thought of as I watched the film, and that I recommend to you. I thought much about Guillaume Pontecorvo's 1966 The Battle of Algiers, especially during the sequence of Fremen attacks on spice machines. Battle of Algiers blurs the boundaries of documentary and fiction film as it recounts the fight for Algerian independence against the French, using handheld cameras and many non-professional actors. In fact, some people are playing themselves in the very streets where the strikes and armed conflict took place. The screenplay was based on the writing of Sadi Yassef, one of the freedom fighters who eventually became a leader in the independent Algerian government. One of the film's most gripping sequences is when the male Muslim leadership recruit women to place bombs in French public spaces, terrorizing the French colonials. The film was banned in France, but years later, studied by the U.S. government as it geared up for the 2003 invasion of Iraq. I showed this film to students during the first years of the Iraqi and Afghanistan wars, and they were outraged at the strategies of the Algerians. Yet, as I watched Dune Part 2 almost 20 years later, I wondered who those students would have identified with in Villeneuve's sci-fi extravaganza. Dune Part 2 is like a biopic of a once-and-future king. We're shown the events that space historians will one day craft into how Paul Atreides became the future emperor, and the film style already swathes those events in legend. The trajectory Paul is on is one of innocence turned to political machination. If you're into biopics and political educations, you should definitely watch Spike Lee's 1992 Malcolm X, which follows an American orphan from his impoverished and unloved teenage years through foster homes and prison, into religious community and marriage and the public eye, and lastly, to Mecca for a final self-revelation. It's a heartbreaking, fascinating, and riveting film about a man despised and rejected by white America who learns brotherhood, and left me truly humbled. Love the ambivalent nature of Paul's transformation, the haunting question of, is he a good guy or not? Well, John Ford's The Searchers from 1956 is about a bitterly motivated protagonist, played by John Wayne, hot for revenge, who spends years searching for his abducted niece, and by the end of this movie, you know for sure that this is no good guy. While this film is dressed up as a Western and shot on location in Monument Valley, it's a look at how racism and American racial politics are destroying families, communities, and individuals. Oh, and if you're a Star Wars fan, you'll see its influence on the original 1977 film, which was also influenced by the Dune books, and which, in turn, influenced the film adaptations of Dune. Do you guys say adaptation or adaptation? Adaption. I use them anyway. That's our show today. Voiceover is edited by Aaliyah Alexander and is a production of BYU Radio. I'm your host, Heather Bigley.